Alright, welcome to part 3 of the 25th anniversary episode of Ask the King. Still got plenty of questions to get to. What I'm going to try to do here is get through them in this next part, try to make this the final part, unless I actually see that, alright, this isn't really working out that well. Maybe I'll definitely do another part, but I'm setting my clock right now, so set. Let's get right back into it since we have so many more questions to get to, okay? Next question. This is a small question, but it's something I'm curious to know. Phil, where do you purchase the frames that you frame your posters from? Or that you... Where do I buy the frames that my posters are in my living room? That's from Metal Gear Fanboy. Bottom line, this is a quick answer. Target, or as they like to say when they want to be fancy, Target. Yes, I go to the local Target and I peruse their selection of frames. Yes, Target actually has a wide variety of frames, whether it's just a basic thin one, plastic one, with a very thin border for like posters. They've also got hard frames for more bigger things. And then actually I have the one frame you've seen in my living room that has the really large portrait or poster of Sexy Peach and Sexy Zelda and Sexy Samus. That's in like a wooden frame that they also sell there. So that's a pretty good place to check out if you're looking for, you know, not super expensive frames for posters and such. Next question. Phil, why do you think people take stuff that you say or anyone else says so personally? Like when you make videos telling people to grow up or stop acting like assholes, or when you or John during a playthrough you're joking or maybe making some racist comments because it's funny. I understand that these are jokes, and in fact, you and John make fun of gays a lot and I don't get upset. I think it's funny as hell. Yeah, I'm actually gay. You actually have some gay fans too. Believe it or not. Lol. So he thinks that. Of course I know that you know, I have gay fans. That's awesome. So I was wondering, what in your opinion is with people these days that they take everything as an attack? It just seems that it's everywhere nowadays. Work, school, stores, the internet, etc. Always, you gotta watch your verbal steps. What the hell happened to freedom of speech? And that comment was from Akira Gyro. Well, Akira, what I have to say about that is, how dare you ask me that question? I am so insulted and offended that you would ask me such a thing. How dare you? Okay, obviously I'm kidding. I don't know, you know, I definitely can tell you this. When I was growing up, people had thicker skin, and you always hear stories from you know, older people that, oh, back in the day, we used to get bullied all the time, and this used to happen, and that. And you never heard of kids killing themselves back then. It may just be a changing culture. It's really what I think it is. The world has changed. Now that there's a new internet culture, and people are able to share stuff with more people than ever before, the culture has changed, and so people have actually said it's okay to be, it's, for a perfect example, it's okay to be gay. That's not a negative thing. Maybe back then it was shunned and people had to hide in the closet if they were, and so, you know, people would bully people and be like, no, it's okay, you know, that's highly accepted. I think as a society we've maybe moved more towards acceptance, but at the same time, when you move towards acceptance, anyone who jokes or even, you know, tries to jab at someone, oh, well, you're not accepting that person, you know, they get more sensitive. I think when you become a society that's more accepting, you also become more sensitive at the same time, and that just may be part of it. But he's absolutely right. Like, when we're making these jokes during playthroughs, obviously we're not serious about that stuff. We know we're just joking, and I think that's some of the appeal of my videos, is that we're not afraid to censor, you know, we don't have to censor ourselves. We can be uncensored and say crazy off-the-wall stuff because you know we don't mean it. It's just a complete joke. We're not trying to offend anyone, and we definitely don't mean that when we say that kind of stuff. And I think there are some people that get the humor, and I think there are some people that sometimes will be offended by certain stuff. There's nothing you can do about it, but what I can say is this. I, at least, make fun of myself as much as I try to make fun of others, you know what I mean? So I'm in on it too, so you know, trust me. What I can dish, I can also take. You know what I mean? I think as long as that's the case, then it's okay to use those kind of jokes. And if society changes, it is what it is. But you know what? I'm successful, so obviously there's an audience. You know, this is an interesting question, but a bunch of people asked it, so I'm not going to give anyone specific credit. But basically, I don't know if anyone's heard this, but my friend and John Rambo's friend Seth Killian, who was the community manager, like the PR relations guy for Capcom in America, has left Capcom. and it was quite abruptly. He didn't even announce it to anyone that he was doing it. He told people like 2 days ahead of time. He made a blog post on the community website for Capcom that he was leaving, and he didn't give any specific reasons. And so people are like, what do you think about this? Well, first of all, I just want to tell everyone, we actually did run into Seth Killian at E3. He didn't even mention to us that he was leaving Capcom, so we had no clue. I might talk to him about it at some point. I don't know, but at this point, like, isn't it just funny that all this stuff is happening at once? It was like, kind of like, first they lose Inafune, you know, who's the creator of Mega Man, and then there's all this fan backlash. All of a sudden, Mega Man starts getting treated like shit. Then next thing you know, there's a fan backlash because of all these Ondas DLCs for games, especially with Street Fighter Cross Tekken. All of a sudden, Ono becomes ill, and he's removed as the head of the Street Fighter, you know, development community. And now, all of a sudden, now Seth's leaving. So within a span of like 2 years, Capcom lost 3 of their most visible employees to the public. Inafune, Ono, and Seth. These are people who constantly talked with the fans and were like the face of Capcom to the fans, and they're gone. So what does this mean for Capcom? Is there a mass exodus that's starting? Are there really people internally that are just so fed up with the company, and maybe the fact that the fans are now backlashing against Capcom for some of their shady business practices? I don't know. What I can tell you is that like I said, I haven't talked to Seth about it, but it does seem kind of odd and kind of weird for Capcom. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that if I did talk to Seth about it, he'd probably tell me he had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. He can't tell me anything that happened anyway. But it's just kind of funny that there's this weird pattern going on. Interesting to see what's going to happen with Capcom in the coming years. Next question. Hey Phil, if Sony were ever to allow HDMI output on the PS Vita, would you ever consider doing a PS Vita playthrough? At least for major AAA titles. And that's from Noctis. Yes, absolutely. In fact, when I bought the Vita, I was hoping that they would have this cable, and then it never came out. But here's the thing. It does exist because we saw setups at E3 where the Vita was connected to an HD TV. So they do exist, but for whatever reason, Sony isn't selling them. Don't know what the fucking reason could possibly be, but they're just not doing it. It was the same thing with the Nintendo 3DS. They had 3DSs that were hooked to HD TVs, but they're not selling this connection. I don't know what the reasoning is, but if they did sell it, I would. I would actually use some of those handheld games to fill some time. In fact, a great example is Resident Evil Revelations, which I'm currently playing. It's a really good game, and I'm very surprised that you can't play it on a TV. I don't know. Next question. If the fans decided to create a fundraiser on a website to pay for surgery for your back, would you accept the gift? And that's from 9Kenny5. The answer is this, no, because honestly now I'm in a position, because as we've already said in this episode of Ask the King, I do have health insurance. I have my own health insurance now, and even though I'm sure the back surgery would probably be expensive to me, I could afford it, you know what I mean? It's not like, the reason that I haven't gotten back surgery isn't that I can't afford it at this point, it's that it's extremely risky. My mom actually got the back surgery, and it didn't work for her. Like, she's in more pain now than she was before the surgery. So, for me, it's extremely risky, and genetic, there's a chance that it might not work, and that's why I don't know if it's worth it to do the surgery. Next question. We actually only have 2 more, and then we get into the Twitter and Facebook questions. What are your thoughts on developers speaking up towards unrealistic demands? Not too long ago, David Jaff, I don't know if it's Jaffe or Jaff, I don't know how to pronounce it, told someone over Twitter to shove Twisted Metal up their ass because a person was making outlandish comments saying that he purposely wasn't trying to fix the servers on launch day. And then everyone knows that he was actually being sympathetic towards the fans, tweeting repeatedly and saying that he supported the fans and was very disappointed that the servers were all messed up. Not to mention that the issues were actually Sony's fault. The server issues were Sony's fault, not his fault. The creator of the original Devil May Cry also has confirmed that people have been overreacting to the reboot and the change in Dante's appearance. Most recently, Katsuhiro Harada of Tekken Tag Tournament 2 sounded off in a mature fashion that some fans just have unrealistic demands. Personally, I support these developers. And this is actually another question from Solid Fantasy. I actually gave 2 really good questions this time, so I picked both of them. You know, it comes to a point, and I actually said this earlier this week, when I played the Mass Effect 3 extended cut DLC that added basically much better endings to Mass Effect 3. And for those that aren't familiar, there was much controversy when Mass Effect 3 was released back in March, because people said, geez, this is a series we've invested, you know, so many hours in, or 5 years, 6 years we've been waiting for this conclusion, and it kind of just fell flat. It wasn't a very good ending. And people complained, started online petitions, were saying they were going to boycott BioWare and EA, all this crazy shit. They were demanding their money back for the game, and finally BioWare announced they were making this completely free DLC that would make the endings better, and it actually does make the ending of the game much, much better. So, there are places where fans speaking up and complaining can actually have a positive outcome, but I also do agree that in a lot of cases there's this crazy feeling of like entitlement that these people have. Like I understand why people are upset, especially like with Twisted Metal's launch, and this I was upset too. What a flub. It's the launch week of Twisted Metal. The primary purpose of the game is to play it online against people, and frequently you couldn't play online. The matchmaking wasn't working, you couldn't form parties properly, and people just couldn't play. And David Jaffe, or Jaffe, again, I don't know how to pronounce his name, publicly was apologizing the entire week on Twitter, saying, listen, I'm talking to Sony on a daily basis, they claim they're working on it, there's nothing we can do, it's Sony servers, it's not us. And people just fucking viciously insulting and attacking the guy, saying it's his fault, your game sucks. Like, it comes to a point where it's like, what the fuck? Like, okay, to a point, yes, you can complain, you can vocalize a concern. But there was one guy who said he was going to sue EA and BioWare because the ending of Mass Effect 3 sucked. What? Sue? Are you out of your fucking mind? Like, first of all, it's a game. Second of all, you can't sue over that. Like, people just blow shit completely out of proportion. And there has to be a line drawn where it's like, what, you know, are we going to be serious about shit, or are we just going to blow everything out of proportion and feel that we're so entitled and we're so special that we deserve the absolute best, perfect scenario of everything? Listen, it's not a perfect world, okay? At some point, you have to learn to compromise a little bit and accept things when they're not perfect. That doesn't mean you don't have the ability, or you shouldn't have the ability, to complain and to vocalize your concerns, but there has to be a line drawn. And I think that a lot of the times these people have overstepped the line and just completely blown stuff out of proportion. So, that's my feeling on it. I do feel bad a lot of the times for these game developers who really do put in a shitload of time into this stuff, and then they get shit all over. So yeah. Alright, last question, and then we're moving on to Twitter and Facebook. A couple people asked me about this. I knew nothing about it until people explained it to me. Apparently there's some drama going on with that guy with the glasses and Channel Awesome. If you're not familiar with them, these are the guys who put their videos over on Blip TV. That guy with the glasses actually has the Nostalgia Critic, and people who I used to talk about, people whose videos I used to watch, I almost worked with these people. When I was on Blip TV, I was going to work with these people and kind of become part of the gaming channel that they have there. And then, of course, when the Blip TV thing fell apart, that deal fell apart, and I never heard from them again. But apparently, one of their major guys, whose name is Spoony, made some kind of a joke about rape or something like that. And I don't know if it was in a video or on Twitter, but I guess a couple of the other people that were part of that group got really pissed off at him and said that was way out of line. And then people started attacking him on Twitter, and he kind of flipped out and lost it and started going back at the fans. So there's a really bad situation. I guess he left that guy with the glasses. And people want to know my thoughts. I mean, my thoughts are, I don't know. Like, I don't know the whole situation. As I've told people many, many times, I don't have time to follow these guys anymore. I used to love watching the Nostalgia Critic, and I would watch Spoony videos from time to time. Now I have no clue what's going on over there. So, if this is the case, I don't know if it was something that was blown out of proportion. I guess all I have to say is, if you're going to make jokes about rape, you got to kind of be careful, and you got to be ready to accept whatever consequences you get. And let's be honest, I've accepted any consequences for the jokes that I've made over the years. Sure, I've had people contact me and say they're offended or whatever, but you have to understand, I'm only doing things in a certain light. I don't know what the joke was, I don't know what the reference was, so I can't give you a judgment, but that's a shame. And, you know, it's funny that things happen for a reason, and things seem to turn out well in the long run, at least for me in this whole YouTube saga. Maybe it's a good thing I wasn't associated with these guys at this point. Maybe that would have been a detriment to me. Maybe I wouldn't be where I was right now. Maybe I wouldn't have been at E3. I don't know. But I'm not with that guy with the glasses. I'm not involved in the Spoony drama. Cool. Alright, Twitter questions, Facebook questions to finally end the supersized edition of Ask the King. Here we go. First question is from Shaggy Rules, and he says, Borderlands 2 is most fun in co-op. Will you be playing it in co-op with either John or Panda Lee, or even 4-player co-op? The answer is yes. I've already talked to John about it, and he would like to participate in co-op. We haven't found any more dedicated players yet, but what we may do is look for some, or maybe some people who can play with us over the internet. So that will be coming up. And yes, John and I will definitely be doing co-op, so at the least you'll see 2-player co-op. The next one is from Cyber Demon. That's right, question from Cyber Demon. And he says, Phil, why do you get console games when the PC equivalents are cheaper and better? 2 reasons. Number 1, because a lot of my fan base is on consoles, and if I want to do multiplayer, usually the best choice is to get the game on Xbox 360. So for fan appreciation, it makes perfect sense. Number 2, it seems like consoles these days are getting a lot of the exclusives. So for example, right now, Skyrim just got its first DLC called Dawn Guard, which is all about vampires, but it only came out on the Xbox 360. I got the game on PC because I knew the PC was the superior version of the game, having better graphics and a debug mode that allowed me to unstick myself when the game glitched out. Unfortunately, PC didn't get the fucking expansion. They're not even getting it. At least they're saying now, maybe next month, maybe not. They're not sure. So there seem to be lots of deals going on, console exclusive deals, and I kind of have to pay more attention these days to find out what's going to get DLC first. And so, yeah, unfortunately, it seems a lot of the times it's better for me to get the console version of the game because I may get some cool pre-order bonuses, or I may get DLC first. So that's the answer to that question. Next question is from BTR Omega, who I think I already took a question from, so here's another one. Hey DSP, in your YouTube career, have you done something that you regret? The only things that I regret are when sometimes I get really, really angry at a situation, and I do maybe go a little bit overboard in my criticism. So a perfect example here would be PAX East. I submitted a request 100 years ago. Like when I was at MagFest, I submitted a request to have a panel at PAX East. So we're talking 4 months in advance. At that point, there wasn't even anything listed on the PAX East website. Nothing was even announced yet. There were no events. And they denied me my panel. And it was really annoying. And it was like, why would they deny me a panel when I just had a successful panel at MagFest? I'm going to bring in a lot of people. People want me to be there. And they didn't allow me to have a panel. Then I saw some of the other bullshit that they had there. Yeah, I saw some real stupid shit that they allowed to be there, but they wouldn't allow me a panel. It made no fucking sense. So obviously, there's some people have their foot in the door, or if they're friendly with the staff, they're getting in, when other people who are much more qualified aren't getting in, and that's kind of messed up. But I did go overboard in the criticism, and I said that basically, Gabe and Tycho, who were the head of Penny Arcade, that they're sellouts and yada yada. Obviously, they're not complete sellouts. When you have an event like that, you need to judge what's going to pull the most interest. Maybe they're not familiar with me, but I'm sure a lot of people aren't familiar with me. Maybe they did have events last year that had guaranteed numbers. So maybe they had a panel that had 40 people last year, so they figure, oh, it'll still pull in another 40 people. Let's do that panel again, as opposed to taking a risk on something like me. And so there's also corporate concerns. Yeah, a lot of the stuff at PAX East was corporate. Let's face it, they had all the big companies there showing off their games. It almost kind of, people have told me, it almost kind of feels more like an E3 than a game convention. Maybe that's why it's called Penny Arcade Expo, you know what I mean? E3 is an expo. So, I guess I can understand in that regard. Still pissed that they denied my panel. Well, I can tell you this is, now that Machinima's got my back and they got me into events like E3, the next time I'm going to apply to do a panel at one of these events, I'm getting Machinima involved. Now, if they deny Machinima, they've got a major problem. So, let's see what happens next time around when we see, hopefully next year, fingers crossed, we can actually fucking get into this event. But I do regret sometimes when I'm in the heat of the moment so angry about something and I go a little bit too far. I think that was one good example where I did actually go a little bit too far in the criticism of those guys, okay? This one's from Tuna999, and he says, we all know you're reading the Song of Ice and Fire books, so how come you've not started watching Game of Thrones yet? The answer is I did. I actually have the entire Season 1 of Game of Thrones on Blu-ray. Here's the thing. I I don't have movie channels or like HBO or anything. I'm not the kind of guy that sits around and watches a lot of TV. The TV that I do watch, usually I DVR, and it's usually just like the regular cable channels. So I actually have like just a basic cable. A lot of people get blown away when I told them that you don't have Showtime, you don't have Cinemax, you don't have HBO. Oh, you're missing out on so much TV. I mean, that's a major reason why I haven't seen The Walking Dead yet. But no, I don't pay for those channels because I don't sit around watching TV all day, and therefore, that's why I haven't seen the new season of Game of Thrones. I'll probably wait for it to hit DVD again. Alright, this question's from Corey Lloyd, and he says, after Project 7, will we see any more acting videos from you? Maybe, maybe not. It all depends. If I do start a new project, I can tell you it'll probably not be related to Project 7. That being said, it looks like Project 7 may actually continue into next year, and therefore, it's not really in sight yet, so I don't know. Alright, this is from Kitani. She says, hey Phil, why do you upload 20 plus videos every day when other YouTubers only upload about 4 videos and usually all of like different games that they're playing at the same time? Well, Kidney, it's because I do things way differently than everyone else. I play the games because I enjoy them. I want to get through the games in a timely fashion because I know a lot of people, you know, they're angry. Well, why does it take this guy 3 fucking months to beat one game? It's just so annoying. I don't use the methods other YouTubers use. I actually get a lot of views because of the quantity as well as the quality of my videos. People know that they can come to my channel to relatively quickly find full playthroughs of newer games. So that's really my philosophy. I'm not looking to do master level playthroughs with massive editing and everything that they throw into their fucking bullshit Let's Play videos. I'm just there to play the game with a camera, have fun, give you my honest reactions, and get the videos out in a manner where if you want to watch the game within a couple days, you can, and you're not sitting on your ass waiting for me to get through the last final parts of it. Alright, now Facebook questions. And I've got 5 of these, and then we are all set for the 25th episode of Ask the King. First one's from Joe Minter. He says, do you prefer a fat ass or little ass? Big old titties or small? The answer, of course, is the same answer as a lot of things. It's all about moderation. You don't want your titties too big. You don't want them too small. You definitely want enough to squeeze, but you don't want them that they're giant, you know, heavy, floppy, sloppy things. Same thing with the ass. It's nice to have some ass there to grab and to slap, but you don't want to have a big, giant, disgusting cellulite ass. You know what I mean? Okay. Next question is from Joshua Hutton. He says, hi Phil, I'm a business studies student and I wonder how you paid your taxes as you're self-employed. The answer is when you're self-employed you actually have to pay your taxes yourself, meaning no one takes it out of your paycheck because you don't get a paycheck per se. You just get paid directly from the company that pays you and there's no taxes taken out. So what I have to do is four times a year I actually have to mail in vouchers with checks to both the federal and the state government based off of what I made, and that's how I do it. So I actually have on my calendar out there, taxes due, and I have to 4 times a year I have these vouchers I cut out, I write checks, and I mail them in. So that's how I pay my taxes. Let's see. 2 quick questions and we're all set. Next one is from Andrew Perlman. He says, hi Phil, do you think your college education was worth the money? What do you think about the high amount of tuition the average citizen has to pay to go to college? I think at one time, college education was critical. I think now, in this horrendous economy, college education, I'm going to be completely honest everyone, is a waste of time. Because most jobs are looking for people, first of all, the jobs that you would think you need a degree for are all taken. There are none. They don't exist. There's very few fields where you can go to college right now, get your bachelor's degree, and then go right to the job. They just don't exist anymore. They're all, because most of them have been outsourced, the companies have closed down, and they don't exist. The jobs that are out there are jobs that don't need a college education. So, I don't see the benefit unless you're going into one of those rare fields where it might benefit you. I'll be honest with you. Yes, I went to school for business and finance. Yes, that allows me to have a better education about how to work money, and when I had my machinima contract, I actually read it and understood it before I signed it. So no, I didn't sign myself away into indentured servitude for the rest of my life because I'm not an idiot. I knew what the contract said. But my degree really hasn't helped me that much. I ended up getting a bunch of jobs I really didn't like, a job that laid me off after a couple of years, and now that I'm very successful, I'm doing absolutely nothing related to what I went to school for. So, I don't know. It's a slippery slope right now of like, do you really want to say don't go to college? Because then if you don't, and then if the economy flips and jobs come back, then you're going to be screwed. So I don't know what to really tell you at this point. The economy is in a position where I don't know what to say about college. Alright, last question, and this will be it. The question is from Carlos Delgado, and he says, "Hey Phil, does your back injury also limit you from going on roller coasters as well as smaller rides?" The answer is, unfortunately, yes it does. In fact, I am not allowed or capable really of going on a roller coaster or anything like that. So I wouldn't, going to a place like Six Flags would be boring for me because I can't go on any rides, simply because if my back were to be jolted or sudden stop, anything like that, it could herniate the disc even further, to which I obviously don't want to do that. It's herniated enough. So for me, theme parks are out. Alright, so that is it. The super large, jam-packed episode, 25th episode of Ask the King. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions. Really good questions this time. Thank you for watching. As always, I'm extremely appreciative. Let's hope that we can go another 25 and have another cool anniversary, alright? So thanks a lot for watching this episode of Ask the King. Remember, go to my website to submit questions for next month, and I'll also be taking Twitter and Facebook questions next month as well, the day that I record the episode. See you then. Peace out.